Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Langer at the Mic Live, both on YouTube and on Spotify. Thank you so much for joining us. In case you didn't already know, the Montreal Canadiens, they were down 3-1 against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round matchup of the North Division, and they came all the way back and won in Game 7 last night, barely 24 hours ago. And to react to that, it's a day later, the dust might have settled a little bit, but we still got two Leaf fans and, of course, my good friend Sheldon, who is also a really big Habs fan, all on the show here. Thank you so much for joining us, of course, guys. Very brave of you, Josiah and Bussey, to join the show. But yeah, we got Josiah Bosch, Jacob Bussey from the Bussey Banter, and Sheldon Wiseberg, Culinary Academy or Teachers College. But how's it going, guys?
Not bad. Could be better.
I mean, it's going all right. Everything considered from my end. It's by the way, tiny correction. It's not Culinary Academy. It's Ontario Tech.
Yeah, no, I just like
really?
saying Culinary Academy. It's when with like on the NFL and NBC where they have like guys like Jared Allen saying like Culinary Academy or whatever. I don't know, just like throwing that in there. But
I don't recall it, but you know what? We'll call it that from now on.
Yeah, no, I know. But honestly, again, guys, very brave of you to join the show today. And you know what? Like we're not. I know you guys are fellow CSMers, so like I'm not gonna dig into you guys too much here, but just I do want to I want to use this as a bit of a therapy session, and a little bit of a learning session, I guess, for you guys, So right off the top, we're gonna obviously talk about the Habs side, talk about the Leafs side. We're gonna talk also preview the Habs versus the Jets, which they finished Game 7 last night, but they have Game 1 against the Jets tomorrow night, so we'll get to that a little bit later. But honestly, Josiah, Bussey, just talk, just how are you guys feeling? Just vent your frustration, and Sheldon and I will try to be here for you guys as much as we can, maybe.
Great therapy session. I love it. I'm disappointed, but I kind of knew it was going to happen. I feel like back-to-back overtime losses was just a recipe for disaster, especially the one in front of like 2,500 fans from Montreal. They just had all that energy. It sounded like a full house. It was so deflating because the Leafs were so good in that game, in that overtime, and all it took was two opportunities from Montreal. That was it. Leafs lost it after that. They were in the right mindset. And was it Owen today, Joe, who said they were able to disappoint 550 healthcare workers in the stands?
He said in our report with for Dave's class today. He said they invited healthcare workers just to disappoint them.
But it was the first time. The first time you have fans. These are healthcare workers who've been working nonstop for the past year and a half, and you get a goal in the last minute. One goal. That's it.
And it was a beer league game at that point, by the way, just because like Suzuki had given up or Mia had given up. Like it was literally a beer league game at that point anyway.
I would have been celebrating too. I'm like, well, it's 3-0 with 2 minutes left. Like,
yeah, it was. I'm fed up with this team. You can't think. What do you change? Like Steve Dangle said, like, what do you change? Coaching, maybe, but Dubas went out and got everything they needed. Offense was probably the best in the North. Goaltending was addressed. Defense was addressed. What do you do?
Well, if I were, I would go out and get a legitimate starting goalie and then another legitimate defenseman. I think there's no need to reshift the offense. Last night I was saying stuff like, trade Marner, trade Nylander. There's not really a point. Offense is what makes Toronto good. So there's not really a point in trading them. I think that would actually be very detrimental, even if they don't show up in the playoffs. I mean, Marner and Matthews, they didn't show up last night. They didn't really show up the whole series, but they're really young. I mean, Kyle Lowry was pretty brutal in his first couple playoff series as well, and now look at him. So there's still plenty of time to improve, but I mean, yeah, like Jake said, what do you change? There's no get another defenseman, get another goalie, and then just run it back.
But it had nothing to do with that. It's all the mentality. They go in there and they just don't play.
It's mentality, but it's also
guys. I will say this: what if the Leafs had Corey Perry, Tyler Toffoli, maybe even Eric Stahl instead of Wayne Simmons, Joe Thornton, and Jason Spezza? Maybe not so much Spezza because Spezza had a really good series, but more so Jason Wayne Simmons and Joe Thornton? What if they had Corey Perry and Eric Stahl over Wayne Simmons and Joe Thornton, guys that have actually won Stanley Cups in this league?
Corey Perry. Go ahead, Joe. Go.
We said it at the exact same time. But I was talking to another guy, Josh Keenan, about this. Like, usually when you get veterans on the team, like a young team like the Leafs, and you go out and you get veterans, they're usually people that have won before. That's usually why you bring veterans on. And we got, 4 guys who have never won? Thornton went to one cup final and they lost. So you got Foligno, never been to a cup. I mean, Thornton won, they lost. I mean, Spets has never won a cup. Like, we like Spets have played great in the playoffs, but we got a bunch of guys that have never tasted victory. Like, there's 2 guys on our roster who've won Stanley Cups,
and one of them was hurt.
But they were captains. Like, these guys that are leaders, but like you guys were saying, these guys still haven't really won much. Won anything in this league. Well,
and I have no doubt they're good locker room presences, but like locker room presences only get you so far.
Yeah,
and it really didn't help them against Montreal. So
like, there's a difference from having leadership and having leadership that can take you far. Look at Montreal, like you said, that fourth line of Stahl and Perry on right there, like they've already won.
And the 2 guys who have rings on the Toronto Maple Leafs, they were playing incredible. I mean, Zach and Jake Muzzin played well.
Then Muzzin got hurt, and there was the leadership that you needed.
Yeah, Muzzin was like the best player in Game 5.
Yeah.
Well, let's back up. So if the Leafs win that Game 5, Muzzin doesn't get hurt because they're playing Winnipeg. Maybe he gets hurt, God forbid, in Game 1 or Game 2 against Winnipeg, but he sure as heck doesn't get hurt in Game 6 in Montreal. Mm-hmm. So to me, so honestly, like, you know what? I mean, maybe it's easy for me to say as a Habs fan and having not endured this pain for the last, since 2004 of not winning playoff series. And yes, sorry, Jacob, to put that in your face there, but also then the 50 years of not winning Stanley Cup. And honestly, to either of us here, any of us here, doesn't matter because I don't think any of us have been born before 1993. So it doesn't really matter to us. But honestly, though, like, if the Leafs are smart, if Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan are smart, they will not listen to a peep of all of this outcry from Leafs Nation, Leaf fans. Because Leaf fans, they want blood, they want they want change, they want to get rid of Marner, they want to get rid of Tavares, they want to get rid of this, fire the coach, fire the GM, they want to do all this stuff. But you know what? I hope the Leafs do that because it would be stupid. Because to me, it's like you said, it's part of it is luck because John Tavares getting hurt in Game 1, freak injury. What can you do about that? What can you do about that? Nothing. God forbid. But you shouldn't ideally still have the depth to step up, which they have. That's where Marner and Matthews have to be better. But given how they have failed to get past the first round for 5 years in a row now, well, now it's like, again, comes back to the fact that you have to build around these guys with guys that have won, guys that have done things in this league or have won Stanley Cups in this league, guys that know what it takes to win in the playoffs, and not guys like Wayne Simmons, where as soon as he gets pushed around by Josh Anderson, he becomes a deer in the headlights for the rest of the series, to the point where he gets stapled against the boards by Eric Gustafsson. Like, seriously. No, and Joe Thornton again, who he's what, 43, 42 years old, 41, excuse me, right? 41 years old. How much does he have left in the tank? To me, it was Jake Muzzin who was the most important player on the Leafs in terms of what he his winning experience, but also playing a top role. And guess who scored the 2 goals in Game 5 when the Leafs were trailing 3-1 in the third period? Jake Muzzin. Sure, they were kind of luckish goals, but you know what? They were also the simple play. Traffic in front, Price doesn't see anything, put it on net. And that's what Muzzin did. And then he made the perfectly executed deflection, a bit of luck, sure, but made the perfectly executed deflection on Alex Galchenyuk's shot, ties the game. Mm-hmm. So you need more guys like Jake Muzzin, but the forward equivalent of that, not the Folignos, not the Thorntons, not the Simmons. Like Foligno, okay, maybe that was a guy that was the right choice because he was a captain, former 30 goal scorer at the time. But to me, you need to invest more in guys like I was thinking a guy from Tampa, Alex Killorn.
Yeah,
maybe Alex Killorn, a guy, and now in net, Jack Campbell. It's his first time in the playoffs. A guy who I have been who have criticized all series for playing well, but playing vulnerably. And he just broke in game 7. And to me, that's like, I look at that and you've seen what Freddie Anderson has done or not done in game 7s. So to me, it's like, what if you bring a guy like Jonathan Quick in that room? Maybe not to play, but at least to be a calming veteran presence who knows how to win a Stanley Cup and who knows how to be a starting goaltender in this league. He might not be what he once was, but what if you bring that in the room to calm a guy like Jack Campbell? Because they're probably not keeping Freddie, but let's say if Jack Campbell's the guy going forward.
Oh yeah. Quick was the guy I was thinking too. What makes this, even being a Habs fan who loves, okay, the series went great. When you watch the clip of Jack Campbell in the post-game conference that, oh, the worst goal I ever let in my career, and it's in game 7. He's got to be better. Like, he's hard on himself. You feel for him, right? He's being the consummate teammate, and they owe him steak dinners for the next 3 months, basically. If anybody blames Campbell for this series, and I haven't seen it yet, like, how can you fault Campbell though? You know?
I mean, he is responsible because he got outplayed by Carey Price, but that just also speaks more to how well Carey Price played, which we'll get to in a little bit. But
I would say that part of it, it's not as much Campbell being not as good. It's just Carey Price just being.
But still, like, he's not wrong in the statement that he said to the media, because you cannot allow a goal like that at that stage. You cannot allow a goal between your legs, a quick little wrist shot from far away from Brendan Gallagher 5-hole. You cannot allow that to go by you. You can't.
No, so, and especially in the Mike, and especially in the situation, game 7 on home ice, and that's the first goal. That's the first goal of the game too. It's not like it's a 2-1 game or a 2-2 game. Like, that's the first goal of the game. It sets the tone, and it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, and if you don't count Nylander's goal in garbage time, like, that's the game-winning goal right there, but right between Campbell's legs. And again, like, I honestly, after the fact, like, seeing his interview, how he reacted to the media and all that, like, yeah, I feel for the guy. And honestly, as a former goaltender myself, I see a little bit of myself from that time in Campbell before I start to figure out how to win. Now, I never made it to the NHL. I played junior AA, which is the equivalent of junior B here in Ontario, but it's a process for a young goaltender, a goaltender who is playing his first playoff series, his first game 7, to learn how to win on the big stage. And it's just, you also have to have the mind of, we're in this together. And you can't, like you said, Sheldon, you can't take all the blame for it, but he is responsible for allowing that goal, of course. But it's just such a fragile game mentally from a goaltender standpoint, So, and he has to learn from that. And I just think that's where, if you're going to fix the goaltending situation or improve the goaltending situation, you got to bring in a guy like a veteran presence to be a backup or a 1A type of guy, kind of like the Habs did with Jake Allen this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like bring in guys who have actually won, not just guys who've been in the league for a long time.
Well, not just necessarily just won, just have gotten pretty deep in the playoffs. Like,
I mean, we had that with Thornton. He looked really old in that series. Like,
no, obviously, and it's hard when he's getting outplayed by like Perry and Stahl, because obviously they're younger, but they also just played better than he did.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't necessarily need to bring in someone who's won, just someone who's able to get past the first, second, third, and make it all the way and know what it's like to play so many games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna get into some Habs talk here in a little bit. Actually, Sheldon, do you want to go? You want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, there is something. I Josiah, Bussey, give me your input on this. I see a little bit of a parallel here with the talk of bringing in a veteran goalie to help Campbell out, because we know Freddie Anderson won't come back, basically, fearless protection. I see a parallel to the 2013 Leafs situation where there was a lot of talk about the Leafs wanting to go after Roberto Luongo to help steady Reimer, even though Reimer's performance in Game 7 against Boston in that playoff round was not the result of the game was not on Reimer. Ultimately, it was the entire team, right? So do you see the same parallel here of Luongo, Reimer, and now with Campbell potentially Quick as well?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally forgot for a second that the Leafs tried going for Luongo. But yeah, you're right. It's a kind of a calming presence, I guess. And if anything goes south, you can always like go back to that. Like, how comfortable were Leaf fans, Joe? How comfortable would you have been if Jack gets pulled after maybe the second goal and then Freddie goes in? How comfortable would you have been? Like, you would have been on fence, right? Like,
Freddie isn't much better in Game 7s than Jack Campbell is.
yeah.
Freddie's 0-8 in elimination games.
Yeah.
So,
So even if you're like all the four of us have the same winning percentage in Game 7s that Freddie Anderson has. So
yeah, I'm not a Freddie Anderson believer. Like
no. And see, that's the thing is Leaf fans have always been kind of borderline on this weird goaltending. Our goalie Jack was good, but what happens if Jack gets hurt, or what happens if Jack gets bad? You know, Freddie Anderson was not the guy, and he will not be the guy. So I agree. They need someone. I think Quick is a great example. It's someone who's won the Cup 2 times, won the Conn Smythe, I think both those times. So he knows what it's like.
Kings are relying heavily on Cal Pedersen now.
Yeah, so I can see maybe a trade coming in the offseason. I could even see Quick asking to go out and maybe have one more chance somewhere else like Thornton. And I'd actually love to see Jonathan Quick come play in Toronto.
So I do want to move on a little bit here. So straight up, obviously Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner combined for 1 goal in a 7-game series. So without giving you too much PTSD there, Jacob Bussey, will give you the opportunity to answer, is Mitch Marner a Toronto Maple Leaf next year?
Well, this kind of goes back to what Joe said and kind of what you said, Mike, too, about how if Shanahan and Dubas are smart, they'll turn their Twitters off, Instagram off, all social media needs to get off. They need to sit down and be like, listen, obviously this sucks. This is the 5th time now in a row that they've done this.
And wait, sorry, just to cut you off there, Jacob, as Dixon Automotive Group says in the chat, the Leafs need Jesus. They need that too.
I agree.
Go on.
Honestly, Jesus, I don't know if the Jesus can save them at this point, but yeah, like he'll be a Leaf next year. I think he'll finish his contract in Toronto, and I think Leaf fans are overreacting a little bit here, but
are they though? He has more delayed game penalties than goals in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a problem, but it's a lot of it. The reason why a lot of people, I would assume, maybe forgive that is because how well he played in the regular season. And I know we talk about regular season doesn't mean anything as long as you make the playoffs, but he was crucial to Matthews Rocket Richard league. But I think for what he's getting paid and what he's done in his years here, yeah, that goals and delay of game penalty, that pisses me off. But you have to keep this core 4 together. You got to go out and address other problems, which they did, but you got to get that goaltender, and you got to figure out what's going on with the coaching. Maybe Sheldon Keefe in his first year didn't adapt the way that Ducharme was able to adapt. So I don't know. I think Marner will stay a Leaf for his entire contract.
And also, you did mention. Oh wait, I actually kind of forgot my point there. Yeah, continue. I think I was going to say something along the lines of. Oh, I just completely forgot. My bad. But yeah, just honestly, just to I guess follow that up is just like I feel like Marner is a guy that just has to, like so many other players on the Leafs, it's almost like the moment is too big for him right now, and the pressure and playing and the market of playing or the pressure of playing for his hometown team is just too big for him right now. And does that change? Like, is that something that could change going forward? Maybe. Oh, and I also want to add. You know how, like I've told you, I think already, Bussy and a couple of other of our Leaf fan friends here. But look how long it took Nicholas Backstrom. That's what I wanted to say. Look how long it took Nicholas Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin in Washington to get past. Sure, they won some first round playoff series, but they never got past the second round until 2018. And if it wasn't for 2018, where they won the Stanley Cup finally, they would still be trying to get past the second round. Yeah. So the fact that Marner and Matthews, the good news is the fact that Marner and Matthews are both under 20 are 24 and 23 years old respectively. So, like, they're still young. There's still time for them to figure it out, right? Yeah. So that's something that you can be hopeful about. But again, does it happen in Toronto for Mitch Marner? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point you bring up, Mike. Because I was gonna bring up Washington too. Like Ovi and Backstrom, they were actually called playoff chokers as well before 2018. Everyone's like, Washington.
And then Steven Stamkos.
Exactly. Like these guys, like they're like playoff chokers are going to get to the second round. Michael Jordan was known as a playoff choker for years until he finally.
Steve Yzerman, I think, also back in the 90s.
Yeah, like these guys, like they and the fact like Toronto media is like, and like the fans, and me included sometimes. I'm not going to deny that I haven't been very critical of Matthews and Marner, but over like the last 24 hours. But Toronto media and the fans are so brutal on the team. Like, see, last night, like people were hanging like their Marner jerseys like outside of the area. I'm like, good way to support your team. Like, come on.
Yeah, honestly, okay. So just the thing about jerseys burning. Jerseys are like what, $250?
It's a waste of
Like
money.
they're $250. I honestly own like one jersey because of that. I own my Carey Price number 31 T-shirt. I have a Nick Suzuki shirt. I have a what's it called? Nick Suzuki, Brendan Gallagher T-shirt. Those are the ones that I've been rotating. But I also have Alex Galchenyuk, PK Subban, Brandon Pruss. Imagine if those were all jerseys and not T-shirts. Like seriously,
That's like 50 times the price.
Yeah, like why burn jerseys? Like I don't care how much you hate your team or are frustrated. Maybe I just never been that frustrated as a fan before personally, but just it's still $250 and there are so many people that would love a Mitch Marner jersey or that would love an Austin Matthews jersey. Why throw it in a fire to make a point and blow up and try to blow up on social media? Give it to someone that wants an Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner jersey.
I'll take it. I'll gladly take it.
There, yeah.
Yeah. You got to stay grounded in reality that, okay, this is just sports and us being fans. There are, other things in life. Actually, guys, may I make a point about Marner, my prediction about him being a Leaf? So, fearless prediction, Marner is not a Leaf next year if the contract is able to be moved, because I've spoken to a couple of friends in advanced stats, and they said, yeah, Marner's actually not quite as good as Nylander in advanced stats, which has its place. But then there was something said from an acquaintance of mine on social media after Game 6 that old habits from Mitch Marner's game seeped in through this series, that he's always looking to pass. I think David Desharnais had this same issue where you knew he's going to pass. And then when there's no other option to pass to Matthews because he's shut down, Marner will just shoot. And frankly speaking, he's not that great a threat to shoot compared to Austin Matthews because that shot is deadly. And with Carey Price being on his game and then some in this series, yeah, no wonder he's going to make big saves on Marner, and Marner's just going to look to pass all the time. So here's how I see it. If Marner's contract to be moved, he's going to bring back a huge haul that would help the Leafs for this future, either NHL-ready prospects, very young players, a couple years in the league, or maybe some picks that'll help out in the future. Again, if the contract is moved, because that's a ton of money. So it's as if you're moving a really good piece to get a ton of really, really good pieces in return that will blossom, right? Anyway, that's my fearless prediction.
So sorry, just do want to move on again here because we have been talking a lot about Leafs here. Just to close the book on that. Quick comments here by again Dixon Automotive Group is did they play Marner too much with him on the penalty kill? So do you think maybe Marner, him playing defensively, took away from his role offensively? I personally don't think so. I just think that if anything, he was a threat on the penalty kill. Like as a penalty killer, he like you have to be careful about Mitch Marner the same way that you have to be careful with Paul Byron and Jake Evans when they play on the penalty kill. But I don't think it really I don't think it really affected his offensive game that much personally.
Yeah, no, the last thing I want to say is no. Marner did have some really good plays defensively in this series. That's one thing I will give him credit for. But yes, and like the last quick point I wanted to make about Marner before I'll let you move on, Mike, is Sheldon mentioned too about the contracts. The contracts is the part that really I don't like about the Leafs situation. They've gotten themselves into cap hell with 3 of their guys getting paid over $30 million. And I was looking at like the NHL, like the salary of like centers. There is like the list of guys under $5 million that would be better or as good or if not better in the playoffs than Mitch Marner is extensive. So Mitch Marner's a good player. He's got a lot of time to grow, but he claimed he was worth $11 million, or maybe his dad claimed. But That's what he got, and he has not proved that he's worth $11 million. So that's the part that I don't like about the situation.
And just a comment also from Noah Siegel London. Shout out Noah Siegel London, my high school friend from Montreal here. But going back to the jersey burning situation, because our team that we cheer for has seen the second round and beyond in our lifetime. So again, the shade ain't coming from us there, Bussey and Joe. So, but yeah, just sharing the comments from our audience here. But with that being said, let's move on. Now we've been talking Leafs a lot here just because, we want to give you a little chance to vent your frustrations and whatnot. We'll get to that in a little bit there at Dixon Automotive Group. But first, Jacob, I do have to present you something here. Let's see if this works.
Guys, especially for you Habs fans, I think if Montreal has even a shot at winning, they have to put Allen in net. I think Price will be the reason this team does not make it past the Leafs. And I don't want to
Wait, Bussey, excuse me. Wait 1 second. Bussey, weren't you the guy that said you were afraid of Carey Price on this very podcast a month ago?
And then
was that not you?
And then I watched him play, watched him get hurt, watched him get cut out by Michael Hutchinson yesterday.
And because Ryan Poehling and Cole Caulfield and the Laval Rocket are banged up and they already clinched and just completely locked up the division and just had nothing to play for because there's no playoffs anyway. But yeah, go on.
Completely different issue, I guess. So there you go. Nice clap back there. It's good. It's the AHL, not the big leagues. But Price has looked shaky against the Leafs this season. Jake Allen has been solid. Like, Montreal should have won most of those. I would even argue that if Jake Allen played every game, they'd split the season series. Like, that's how I thought Jake Allen played this season compared to Carey Price. And Jake Allen hasn't been hurt, or at least I don't think so. Carey Price has, and he has a history of being hurt, and all it takes is one pad save, one extra stretch, and that could be it. And I just don't think he's the goalie he was at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, I did say I was afraid of him, but now after watching him and watching kind of like his entire season, I'm not so worried about him anymore.
Okay, so yeah, Jake, honestly, you're a great sport for taking that. But you know what? Look, Craig Button said that the Habs didn't stand a chance at winning a game this series, and he is eating it a lot right now. But don't worry, I'm going to show myself up too, because I'm going to share something as well that I predicted that I was dead wrong about. But the stage is yours.
You gotta take this one.
Yeah, and by the way, that was from our Langer at the Mic Habs-Leafs preview show 2 nights before Game 1.
I ate my own words. Carey Price proved me wrong, and just got shades of 2014 there before that Chris Kreider injury, and just nothing else I can say. I was wrong, and Carey Price has proven that he's still got it.
Hey, I remember, Jake, I was talking to you before Game 6, and I said that win or lose, Carey Price is the MVP of the series.
He did, yep. And there was no doubt about it. Carey Price has been absolutely unreal. And I figured at around Game 5, especially after that overtime loss for the Toronto, I'm like, oh, no, Carey Price is really going to shut these next 2 games down. And, yep, I said that. I meant it when I said it. And obviously you're wrong on some things. You're right on others. And I was just dead wrong. That's all.
I mean, he extended the series almost by himself in Game 6. Like, okay, Jack Campbell had a higher save percentage than Carey Price did in the series, but like up until Game 5, Jack Campbell is basically facing goalie practice in Montreal Canadiens. Like, those weren't very high danger scoring chances.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like Price just in terms of like to me with Carey Price, the funniest thing is that I almost feel like, compared to Jack Campbell, who's a little more human than Carey Price, and all of us who are way more human than anyone that plays in the AHL, of course. But to me, the thing with Carey Price is he almost thrives and embraces the role of being the calmest person in a chaotic situation. It almost like makes him calmer. He's like, yeah, I am not stressed out by anything here that's going on. Even in overtime against Matthews, Nylander, Marner, in Game 6 at the Bell Center, after having surrendered having blown a 2-goal lead in the third period, and Sherratt, Weber, Petrie, Edmondson are exhausted from having all played 30 minutes plus, while Gustafsson and Brett Kulak played under 6 minutes. But Price just like, it's okay. It's okay. I got this. And Kotkaniemi scores. It's okay. I'm just going to take my water bottle off my net. I'm not going to celebrate. And then when he gets interviewed by Kyle Bukauskas at the end of the game, it sounds like he's on a beach for the last 3 hours instead of just having played a game 7. So the guy is just, to me, the reason why playoff Carey Price is playoff Carey Price is because he won in the WHL, I think. He won with the World Juniors, Team Canada, after like a 20-round shootout against Team USA in the semifinal round. He won in the AHL Calder Cup. He won a gold medal with Team Canada 2014 Sochi, and he won a World Cup with Team Canada 2016. So the guy he hasn't won a Stanley Cup, but the guy knows how to win and he knows how to perform in big moments. So I know I showed you up there, or actually, yeah, go ahead, Sheldon, actually, before I get to
what's really cool about it is, I mean, Mike, you and I have been following Carey Price's career since he was a rookie here, so we know this. But a lot of fans who become Habs fans and think, oh, what's the deal with Carey Price? Why is he so calm? He had to develop that, right? He developed it so early to a point where I think it was in the National Post in his rookie season, right, way back in middle school, where I read that basically he's got, a more similar technique to Patrick Waugh, which is, it has its place, but also that great calmness in combination with it that reminds Habs fans of the past of Ken Dryden. So that combination is really frightening for opposing shooters, and he has had this for so long, and he's so chill about it. It's chilling, and I put this in the post-game chat last night, that watching Carey Price play in these high-pressure situations is so chilling because he's so calm. It's just, I make the save. I made another save. Oh, we won. That's cool.
Exactly. And as Dixon Automotive Group says right here, Price is a money goalie. Doesn't try the same in the season because of all the injuries. And that's an interesting point, because I will say the struggles in the regular season, I think, have come from being physically worn down. But then this playoff series, he had a chance to rest and get healthy and even play a bullpen session in the AHL, which isn't playoff hockey, which is maybe why he struggled and gave up 2 goals in the AHL against the Toronto Marlies, and why he did get shut out by Michael Hutchinson in that game. But yeah, just to me, it's like Price is just, like you said, Sheldon, just rises to the occasion of playoff hockey and is built for it. But I do want to mention again, Josiah, just because I know I showed you up there, but I can also show myself up here, because here is something that I tweeted right in the third period of Game 4. Give me a follow at Mike Langer if you want to see a lot of wrong, but also some right things every now and then. But here's what I tweeted in the third period of Game 4. I was never on the Fire Bergevin train at any point this season. I am now. Time to clean house. This is embarrassing. And it was embarrassing in Game 4, but that just also speaks to the magnitude of what the Leafs had to F up and what the Habs had to overcome to push this series to Game 7 and win this series. So from the Montreal standpoint, guys, from your Leafs minds, and also Sheldon, also I'll share my input as well, we already talked about Carey Price, but what was the number one reason why the Montreal Canadiens were able to win this playoff series and come back from down 3-1 to win this playoff series?
Go ahead, Joe.
One of the most important things was Montreal coming into the series. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure on them. Like, I know it's playoff hockey and it's intense, but
here goes Sheldon again, rolling the eyes. But yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I'm just saying, like, everyone predicted the Leafs to win, including myself. And I'm not saying Montreal's a bad team at all. It's not at all what I'm saying. They beat Toronto. They deserved it. But Montreal came in as the underdog, and they knew it, and they planned for it. And they said, we know they're going to throw Matthews at us. We know they're going to throw Marner at us. Tavares, unfortunately, got injured. But they knew the Leafs game plan, and they were like, nobody's expecting us. Like, all the pressure was on Toronto because everyone's like, oh, are they going to get out of the first round? Are they going to finally do this? Montreal was like, all right, we're going to chill in the shadows. We're going to come out there and we're going to beat them. And Toronto didn't want it as much as Montreal did. And the Habs came out and they beat the brakes off of them. games 2 through 4 were, a little iffy. Game 3 was a little tight, but as soon as I think the Game 5 overtime winner was like the catalyst that Montreal needed they were like, okay, we can win this series. And as soon as that happened, as soon as Montreal got on that train where people were still expecting them to lose the series, they were like, we can do this without worry because people are expecting us to lose anyway. So let's just try a bunch of things, give it all we got, and see what happens. And they did it.
So I said this on the last roundtable discussion. I don't abide by this. The favorite has all the pressure because there are still fans, especially among Canadiens fans, whether they're the team has done poorly going into the playoffs or whatnot. That look, we still have that hope. So there is a ton of pressure anyway, and especially within the locker room. But what I think was the one thing that we could see that was what propelled the Canadiens to this great comeback was Carey Price making a very bold statement. I don't recall if it was before Game 5 or after Game 5, but he said something along the lines of, I believe in this group. I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to do it. Now, coming from a veteran goalie who really is the de facto captain of the team, right? He and Weber are the two actual veterans of this team. It means a lot when Carey Price he doesn't talk much, but when he says something, just like captains of the past, like Bob Gainey, you listen. And Carey Price has been there before in high stakes situations. So, this gives me a flashback right to 2010 in that preseason after Halak got traded and Price led in that first goal on the first shot of the game.
It goes, Nathan Horton going down the wing, just like a wrist shot from the half wall that beat him on the short glove side there.
And after the game, people were going, okay, that was pretty bad. Like, what's going on? I thought you practiced. And he went, just chill out. You got tons of time, because he knows it. And just staying calm and backing it up with such a prominent performance is specifically what brought the Canadiens back into the series to this comeback, to this series win.
I will also say that guys that were very important to their success got healthier and in better shape, that were injured late in the season got healthier and in much better shape as the series went along, which allowed them to, as Dixon Automotive Group says here, they lost their second line center. So Tavares, of course, so that they could be shut down, or that it would be easier to shut down Matthews and Marner. And to that point, keep in mind, Jake Evans got hurt in Game 1. Jake Evans got hurt in Game 1, even when John Tavares got hurt, but so did Jake Evans for the Habs. And Brendan Gallagher had missed 6 to 8 weeks with the broken thumb and had only played in one game with the Laval Rocket in that season finale with Carey Price. And Philip Deneau was playing his first game returning from a concussion. So through the first 4 games, I feel like with Philip Deneau and Brendan Gallagher not being at their best, and not being in their best like health-wise, but also definitely not in their best condition, plus Jake Evans being out, that all turned in Game 5, or between Game 4 and Game 5, because they had I think also that closed door meeting between Shea Weber and Eric Stahl, just kind of leading the way, saying like, this is where we are right now, and this is the plan, blah, 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 and it worked. But also, like I said, Brendan Gallagher, Philip Deneau got healthier, got in better shape, and were able to keep up with Matthews and Marner and completely shut them and continue to completely shut them down. Because Matthews scored in Game 2, and Matthews I think he got like an assist with on the Riley goal in Game 3, I want to say. So and when the Habs were pinned in their own zone all second period in Game 4, like Matthews and Marner had a lot to do with that. But in Game 5, by Game 5, 6, and 7, Deneau was more at his game, winning more faceoffs. He was getting owned in the faceoff circle by Austin Matthews early on, but Deneau started winning faceoffs. Brendan Gallagher started getting his conditioning and his cardio back, so he was able to keep up with Philip Deneau and just be the old Brendan Gallagher that's tough to play against. against that top line. And then by game 6, they got Jake Evans back on that left wing, who can play fourth line center, third line right wing, first line left wing. Maybe he could play defense. Maybe he could play goalie even. Who knows? But Jake Evans was phenomenal on that left wing. And as much as you're going to criticize Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner for going 1 goal combined in the entire series, a lot has to be said. A lot of credit has to be given to Philip Deneau, Jake Evans, and Brendan Gallagher for the job that they did in shutting them down.
Yeah, I don't think there's an argument there. You're totally, I mean, like an argument from me is totally correct. I think the biggest X factor besides Carey Price was the young guns. Look who scored game 5 overtime winner. Look who scored game 6 overtime winner. Kakaniemi in game 6 and Suzuki in game 5 from Caulfield.
Kakaniemi wasn't even playing game 1. Suzuki wasn't even, Caulfield wasn't even playing in game 1 and game 2.
Yeah.
And Caulfield could have easily had 2 more goals in this series. I mean, you could say that about Matthews, who hit a couple posts as well, but Caulfield rung one off the crossbar on Campbell's short glove side from a dead angle. And he rung one off the crossbar also on the glove side on the power play in game 3, I want to say.
Yeah,
so,
I was saying that right after game 4, when the Leafs went up 3-1, and I was talking to my friends, we were just like out, just chilling, whatever. And we were just talking about the game. It happened the night before. We're like, yeah, Leafs might go on. And I was saying to them, I was like, I feel like it'd be a lot smarter if Montreal played their young guys, like not give them first line minutes, because Caulfield, he's been in the NHL for 10 games now. So
he was still getting a lot of ice time though. Like he was still getting like over 15 minutes a game.
Yeah, for sure. But it wouldn't be fair to give him like 26 right out of the game.
Oh,
like
no. You only give Matthews 26 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying like give them that much, but I was saying like if they put like Caulfield, every time Caulfield was on the ice when he was playing before the comeback started, he was dangerous. He wasn't scoring, but every time he had the puck, I was like, I don't like this. Every time he was going in, I'm like, I don't like this. He's going to shoot, and he's got a good shot. So every time he had the puck on his stick, I was saying, like, they should give that, like, put him in a bigger role. And then, sure enough, like, it was those guys who scored the overtime winner. Kakaniemi scored in game 6. Like, they were critical to the comeback. So, I mean, it kind of – I accidentally spoke it into existence. Didn't mean to, but I was saying they should give the young guys a bigger role. They did, and then they won.
Thanks,
yeah,
Joe.
and Caulfield kept buzzing the tower too with that shot going right past Campbell's ear and ringing it off the bar. You could hear it so loudly. That shot is a beauty to watch.
Well, it's especially dangerous because he shoots from anywhere.
Yeah,
he'll put the pocket if
I actually disagree because he didn't necessarily. I mean, he does shoot from anywhere, but he also passes at the right time. Yes. Like. On the 2-0, he could have very well shot on overtime. Their game on the line, 2-0. Look at Matthews and Marner in overtime in that regular season game at the Bell Center. And look at McDavid and Jesse Puljujarvi in that regular season game in Edmonton that the Habs had. Were just none of them. They even not only did they not result in goals, but they didn't even result in a shot on net. But to me with Caulfield, not sorry to cut you off there, Joe, but like just with Caulfield, it's also just the hockey sense, the smarts to not only be in the right place, the right time to cut off Galchenyuk's pass, but to jump it and to lead the rush and to have the wherewithal to go give with Suzuki until Campbell was beat. Just
fully agree.
Hockey sense.
Caulfield's he's an underrated playmaker as well. He's a scorer, but yeah, you're right. He passes at the right time. He's good hockey sense, and it's very rare that you see a player come up from the AHL right before the playoffs and make that much of an impact. Like I know he wasn't leading the team in goals. I know he wasn't leading the team in assists or shots or anything like that, but he was every time he was on the ice, he was making a difference.
In 5 years, I said he. Sorry,
one thing. Big shout out to one of our commenters here, Ultimate Hab. You guys are doing a great job together. Thank you so much, Ultimate Hab. Let's keep it up, boys.
Yeah,
and Caulfield had just as many assets or assists. I think
Caulfield is an asset.
He's a very good asset. Yes,
and a very inexpensive one too. Wait till he gets his first actual contract in the league.
I mean, let's see him score 30 or 40 goals in a season first. But anyway.
In 5 years, I said this to Dave today, Joe. I don't know if you heard. I said, he'll be the next Ryan Miller. He'll be the Leaf killer. He'll be every time you go into the Bell Center in front of a packed 18, 20, I don't know how many people you can fit in there. He's going to show up big, and he's going to kill the Leafs, and the Leafs have really got to be afraid of this guy. And Suzuki, the two of them are going to be dangerous together in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Another young guy that we have to bring up here is the guy that Rasmus Sandin got picked, I think, a couple picks after him. Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Brady Tkachuk, of course. They took Jesperi Kotkaniemi before Brady Tkachuk, and it did not look good at several times this season. But guess how? But Tkachuk has 0 playoff goals, and Kotkaniemi, I think, has 6 now, including an overtime winner that forced the game 7.
It's 7 goals.
Yeah, 7 goals. So. Just like Carey Price, it's almost like the playoffs bring out the best version of Jesperi Kotkaniemi. You look what he did in the bubble last year. You look what he did in the 6 games of this series against the Leafs this year. The guy is built for playoff hockey. You know, I mean, he did trip over the blue line once in Game 7, and I think he also had a puck that just bounced right off it, like a pass on his stick on his tape that bounced right off of it. So those moments like that happen because he's still growing to his body. But the playoffs bring out the best in him.
Yeah, I think some players are just built for the playoffs. Price, McKinnon, these guys, and I think Kotkaniemi will be one of them.
You know, here's the ironic thing, Mike. I think you talked about this once on one of your post-game shows about Kotkaniemi not being that big of a threat to shoot, and I asked on the live chat that, you know, do you think that Kotkaniemi will ever be put on the right circle to let loose that one-timer like he did so many times in his rookie year? And you said something along the lines of, no, that's not really how he's going to be used because he's primarily a playmaker, which I agree with. Look at him, how he plays. He's supposed to be a playmaker. He doesn't have a single assist in any playoff games at all. It's almost as if, and I'm reaching back into the archives here, Jacques Lemaire, when he was playing in the 60s and 70s, he used to almost temper how many points he would get during the regular season. But then in the playoffs, it's nothing's holding him back. He could be the leading goal scorer for all the Canadians care. But he focused on shooting, and he scared goalies with his shot.
But also, Sheldon, like, Kotkaniemi's not scoring these one-timer goals either. Like, it's not like these beautiful one-timer goals. It's being at the right place at the right time, which is crashing the net, on being tenacious on the forecheck, not giving up, being tough to play against and relentless, and just scoring ugly garbage goals. But who cares? Because that's how you score goals in the playoffs.
Right. My bottom.
And you have to get a lucky bounce off Zach Bogosian's skate in overtime for the second shot of the entire period when you gave up 12 shots. Yeah, sorry, there again PTSD there. But
okay. Like, my point is, right, Kotkaniemi's scoring goals even though he's primarily a playmaker and he doesn't have a single assist in these playoffs. That's very ironic.
No, like, it is definitely ironic, but I just think that, like, that's his game. What he does well is very suitable for the playoffs. Like, his ability to forecheck, his ability to skate, the fact that he's a big body, even the fact that he's a little bit awkward at times. Okay, it hurts him sometimes, but the fact that, like, I feel like sometimes like the, let's say, the opposing defenseman doesn't know that his stick is going to end up in a passing lane, or that his skate's going to end up in the way just because of he just moves awkwardly, and sometimes it happens by accident and it's funny, but it works because just and he'll get even better as he grows into his body for sure. But yeah, just that, like, the way he plays like that is suitable, is just perfect for the playoffs, you know. Also, Dixon Automotive Group is referring back to Caulfield, the assists in college, not assets. And Ultimate Hab is saying before Game 7, I would say Price stole our wins. Game 7, the whole team played well, and the kids have been spot on. And yeah, like, we know Carey Price, the $10.5 million player on the Hab, like, yeah, the Habs would have been swept if it wasn't for Carey Price. So yeah. But yeah, just going back to Kotkaniemi, like you said, just his game is perfectly suited for the playoffs, 100%. So again, guys, look, Josiah, Bussey, you guys have been great sports about this. We're gonna try to minimize the Leafs shade here. Maybe not so much, because I do want to ask you a question, Sheldon. I don't know if this really relates to Josiah or Bussey here, but which series win was more awesome and more special? This win against the Toronto Maple Leafs, or against the Boston Bruins?
Ooh,
in 2014 Game 7.
Okay, so specifically 2014 Game 7. You know what? It was the 2014 series win over the Bruins, because that series was ugly. By the end of the series, like the ugliness was not over. Lucic said that threatening thing to Weiss, which accentuated just how nasty it was. There was something Ken Dryden said. I think it is specifically what he said in his book, The Game, which I recommend to anyone interested in hockey. And I think it was quoted in a Darcy Jenish book specifically on the Canadiens that the Habs-Leafs rivalry lives more in the hearts of the fans more than in the minds of the players. But he was writing that in 1983, right? Only, I think, 4 years removed from that last time the Canadiens and Leafs met in the playoffs. This series, yeah, there were scrums, but it wasn't particularly nasty where there was playoff hate, other than maybe that Foligno and Perry fight, because the Tavares injury, like, okay, what can you do about it? Everyone's shocked. But the Bruins series bring that nastiness out, and that's been going on for, I think since the 50s. So considering how nasty that 2014 series was and how everything was hyped up and PK turned into a playoff beast again, that series was more satisfactory. But considering the circumstances that it had been so long, and the Canadiens did this comeback series, which actually ties the record for how many times a team was down 3-1 series and came back and won, tied with Vancouver. It's special, but there was no real grit, or not grit, playoff hatred in this one.
I think it was more just, but honestly, I think this one was, like, I agree with you, Sheldon. I think this was extra special just because of the fact that, like, the Habs were dead in the water and came back. And that's all I'll say. Don't want to give more PTSD to Jake and Josiah here, but yeah. By the way, again, some love from Michael Sidko there in the comment section. Our good friend Sidko in the comment section there, Sheldon. So yeah, much love in return to Michael Sidko there.
We see you, Sidko.
What do you think about this, though? Another comment from Dixon Automotive Group. Shout out Dixon Automotive Group for your engagement here and interaction. This is for you, Josiah and Bussey. Keep Marner in Toronto, but split him and Matthews up and build those two lines with some grit around them. We kind of maybe touched that a little bit, but what about splitting them up?
Well, when Tavares originally came to Toronto, Marner was on his pairing on the second line. It was Hyman, Matthews, Nylander, Marner, Tavares, and I can't remember who that other person was on that line, but there was someone. No, Hyman was on the first line.
Matthews line.
Was it Marlowe?
It might have been. I'm not sure.
Anyways, Kapanen. No, it wasn't Kapanen.
No, it wasn't Kapanen.
Was on the third.
The point is, there was someone else on that line, on the second line. Tavares came to Toronto because of Marner, because Marner was going to set him up like he does Matthews. So what they need to do is, I agree. I was saying in Game 6, going into Game 7, I said you need to split them up. Nylander was by far the best Leaf in that series. Put Nylander up there with Matthews. Matthews can win those faceoffs in the offensive zone. Hyman will go dig it out, and all you need is Nylander, who scored the only goal in Game 7. It was Nylander, because someone went to go dig the puck out, got it to him in the open slot, and he scored. But
it was also a beer league game at that point.
No, I know. Obviously, I get that, but like the whole series, Nylander was the best Leaf.
For sure.
And
by the way, I don't think Leaf fans deserve to hate William Nylander anymore at all. Ever again. Ever.
I agree with that. I haven't been big on him at all this series, like the regular season, but after this series, like, I can't say anything about him anymore. He showed up when it mattered, so that's,
And Ultimate Hab agrees that Marner is better off being with Tavares. But I do want to turn the page once again here, guys. Now, we don't have to talk about the Leafs anymore. I do want to talk about the Jets, though. This Habs upcoming second-round matchup against the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh,
now,
boy.
Like, this is, like, in the regular season, there were times when the Habs, like, before their COVID break and they started not playing as well, but like, these were fun games against the Jets, like, where, like, they lost the first one 6-3, but then 3 of these games went to overtime against the Jets, and the Jets already went to three overtime games out of 4 against the Oilers. But, like, there was like a 7-1 win for the Habs, and then a 5-0 win for the Jets, and then a crazy come from behind 5-3 win for the Habs. Like, it's been a really fun regular season series. So what do you guys expect for these Habs going into this first round matchup against the Jets, and more specifically the Game 1 matchup tomorrow night on Wednesday?
We'll let
Battle-
Sheldon go first. He's the Habs fan.
Battle
All right,
of
all
the
right. Thank you,
goaltenders.
Joe.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be you got a Vezina Trophy winning in Hellebuck, and you got Price, who's absolutely on his head. It announced today 500 fans will be in the arena for the game, so that's really going to turn the tide for Winnipeg. But it's going to come down to goaltending. Like, if Carey Price can stay how it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of 1-0, 2-1 games, in my opinion.
I don't know about that. Because the Jets. So if you compare the Jets to the Leafs, the Jets have the much better goaltender. The Jets have similar talent offensively, maybe not quite to the level of Matthews and Marner, but I mean, from a playoff standpoint, yeah. But maybe more. But yes, but also Ehlers, like that team is a different team with Nikolai Ehlers in the lineup. They're like that top six. Like what Nikolai Ehlers adds to that top six is just like it takes them to a whole other level. Plus Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's on the wing, could play center. Paul Stastny, who's just like a steady veteran second line guy, So just to me, like this is a tough matchup. But where I see the Habs can do some damage and where they've had success against the Jets this season is on their blue line. Like to me, they don't have a defined. I find that the Leafs top four of Riley, Brody, Riley, Brody,
Muzzin-Hall.
Muzzin-Hall. I don't know. I was trying to blank there, but that top four is better than the Jets top four. But as a whole, the Jets 6 defensemen, if you throw in Sandin, Bogosian, or whoever on that third pairing, or Dermott, the entirety of those 6 defensemen of the Jets are maybe as good, but they're still not better than the Leafs top four. So I find that the Habs can wear down, especially with their physical style of play that's built for the playoffs, can wear down that blue line of guys like Forbort and Neil Pionk, who's given up a couple of pucks again in the Habs series, or DeMello or Josh Morrissey. Like they can do some damage against these guys and get some goals off turnovers from their forecheck and all that.
Yeah. Bussey basically took my point away. Great minds think alike. This is a clash of titans in the goalie departments. Yes, Carey Price is playing on another level, but based on past performance over more than one season, Connor Hellebuck is one of the few goalies in the league that can match him. This is going to be a goalie show. Even if one game the gates break open and you can get 4 or 5 goals on both of them, it's going to come down to the next clutch save. And even then, that's going to be fun to watch. Hard on our hearts, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's been a lot of games this season where it's back and forth, and it's like, oh, the next goal is going to win, and they score with like a minute to go in the game. You're like, okay, that's it, and it's a 7-6, 5-4, whatever. But you're right, like your goalies are allowed to have a bad game, but if they're going to have a bad game, get it out in game 1 or 2. Don't save it for 6 or 7, 5, 6 or 7, because if that's the case, that could be elimination time. And obviously, Carey Price didn't do that against Toronto, and I don't think Carey Price will do that against Winnipeg. So it's and that's the thing with the Leafs being out now is my pressure. I'm not watching this. I'm not stressed about these divisions. You guys are stressed. You got to play the Jets for at least 4 more games.
Oh, we ain't stressed about a damn thing.
Oh, please.
We got Tyler Toffoli, Corey Perry, Eric Stahl, Carey Price. We ain't stressed about a damn thing. We never were.
Bussy,
The only thing I will say is I think
look nervous.
Sorry. The biggest thing for Montreal is just putting the puck in the net. That's going to be the biggest thing. Like you can trust Carey Price to play well. You have to give him goal support, and they could do it against Jack Campbell and the Leafs. Now you're going up against a guy who is 5 to 10 times better than Jack Campbell. So
I will say this though. With Connor Hellebuck, we'll get to your comment there, by the way, Dixon Automotive Group in a second. But Connor Hellebuck, I mean, you could say the same thing with Carey Price, but Connor Hellebuck can kind of give up a bad goal every now and then too. Sometimes he'll make fantastic saves that he has no business making, but he'll give up like a bit of a goal that he should maybe not stop between his legs or something. I've seen that from Connor Hellebuck a couple of times. It's very weird because he's a great goaltender and he makes a lot of saves and is really, really good, but it happens sometimes. But you could say the same thing happens to Carey Price as well. But if they're both on their game, like yeah, like it's like Sheldon said, it's going to be the clash of the Titans.
Yeah. Well, and what was I going to say? What was I going to say? I forgot my point. Never mind. Continue.
Probably something really smart, though.
I hope.
Well, I'm not sure about
let's
that.
let's.
Oh no, I do remember. It is.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is something smart. In that case, if you're looking for like
Let's
that,
see how smart.
Just send Kotkaniemi to the net.
Oh yeah,
I
exactly.
like that idea.
There you
I
go.
like that idea.
But Dixon Automotive Group, I want to get to his comment here. It brings up an interesting point, not so much with this year, leaving of sitting Sherratt and Weber out for the first game. So you don't sit Weber and Sherratt out. You do not sit them out. But what you can do is maybe bring in a Romanov who hasn't played in these playoffs yet and who is a fresh body, a young body who could make mistakes, but it's a game 1, not a game 5, 6, or 7 facing elimination. But like, how would you envision Romanov getting to the lineup, or how do you envision the Habs handling their defense going into this game 1, given that they just came out of a 7-game series?
I expected Romanov to come in game 4, to be honest.
Actually, I don't think you sit or you substitute Weber or Sherratt. You got to set a tone in game 1. You got to set the tone of the series, and like you said, Mike, Romanov has been known to make some mistakes, and you don't want to have that set as a tone. You want Weber from the blue line shooting those 100-mile-per-hour shots. You want Sherratt standing up, Scheifele and Ehlers coming into the blue line. You want to set a tone, and setting a tone for any series is the most important and is the most crucial part of any game. Like Carey Price in game 1, although a lot of people didn't see it, he set the tone. 2-1 win in Toronto. He set the tone, and a lot of people didn't see it. I didn't see it because the Leafs won 3 in a row, and then Carey Price decided, I'm going to come out of my shell and just absolutely stone every single one of you. So you got to set a tone. You got to have Weber and Sherratt in the first game.
But also Romanov, he can set a tone. He can
but
he can have a couple of really big hits.
No,
he can also leave a guy wide open. But it's game 1, and you're trying to manage a blue line. By the way, Eric Gustafsson played a great game in game 7. He played more than 6 minutes, double what he played in game 6, and he had an assist on the power play on the Corey Perry goal. Yeah, because he fed Suzuki, and his shot went off Perry's knee. So, but Romanov from his physical standpoint, from his ability to hit, just like Dixon Automotive Group is saying there with his big hit this year on Winnipeg, he can lay the body out and just set the tone from a physical standpoint as well. I am not worried about that. But Romanov, late in the year, the reason why he sat out, which I don't hate that he sat out early in the series, but I didn't like that he stayed sitting out. But if there's anything that Romanov is weak at, is D-zone coverage. He gets lost in coverage sometimes, leaves some guys open, which that's how he's gotten burned this year. So.
And if you go to the box against the Jets, man, and you lose your man in coverage, you leave Scheifele or Stastny open, it's game over. That's Carey. It's going to be coming down to Carey, and those are 2 incredibly talented people going head to head, 1-on-1.
More worried about Kyle Connor, actually. Ehlers, okay, he's going to come in, but Kyle Connor, throughout the season, throw away the regular season, but given how Kyle Connor's played, he's been a Habs killer. There's one goal he scored where it was such a surprise and went 5-hole on Price, but it was elevated off of the ground. Like, how do you expect that, right?
Just his one-timer has been just not only him as a player, but just his one-timer alone has been Habs killer.
Yeah, it's frightening. Like, if the Jets are going to win, it's going to be the offense coming through, especially on the power play when Ehlers and Connor, not so much Scheifele and Wheeler, but those 2 guys and Dubois, they're going to come through offensively.
And Stastny's just like that savvy veteran that just knows how to produce at the right time, I don't think Stastny's won a Stanley Cup, though.
No, he hasn't. No.
When we're talking about what the Leafs need, but he has won multiple. He's been on multiple deep playoff runs with the Jets, with the Vegas Golden Knights. So he's a guy that he just knows how to get the job done, plain and simple.
I wouldn't mind getting Stastny.
I agree.
Not at all.
The Leafs, you're saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if the Leafs somehow got it. But
could that be one of the few tweaks that Ultimate Habs is saying to the Leafs fans? You have a great team, need odd tweaks, but we need that too. Price was our difference. I mean, Stastny could be a guy that helps the Leafs for sure. Just again, a guy, good old veteran that knows how to do the right thing at the right time. Plain and simple.
In the NHL playoffs too, the way you win a Stanley Cup is to get the right mix of guys, and Washington couldn't do that for 8 years, 9 years. And then eventually they got it. So, Toronto, I'm a Leafs fan. I know we have a great team, but haven't got the right mix of guys yet.
Yeah, Herb Brooks said this in Miracle. I don't know if he said this in real life, but I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right players.
Yeah.
Words to live by.
That's why Vegas did so well in the expansion draft. They have the best players, but they have the right players. So,
and they don't even have to protect any of them in this expansion draft.
Nope, they don't have to.
I just found that out the other day.
That's a huge eye roll.
It's within 5 years, right? That's the rule.
Yep, 5 years.
I think so, yeah. So, but going back to Habs and Jets, though, going to this game one, I do see an inevitable letdown from the Habs side. So, because you saw the Habs, last 2 times the Habs have been game 7s and won game 7s against the Washington Capitals. They were a little bit flat against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the following series, and then they were very flat against the New York Rangers in 2014. I was at that game. That was where Chris Kreider ran to Carey Price. Hopefully, again, PTSD for Sheldon and I there. We got to take some after giving some, but anyway, self-inflicted. So I do see a letdown from the Habs. I do, which is why, honestly, like we kind of talked about before, Romanov, I'd put him in there. Maybe not for Weber, Sherratt, Petrie, or Edmondson, but maybe a Romanov in for Kulak or in for Augusta. Like maybe not even a Gustafsson because they've been sheltering his minutes. They've been playing Gustafsson and Kulak with Weber and Sherratt and Petrie anyway. So, and maybe you go back to Thomas Tatar just for game one, like not for Evans, but like maybe Armia. Like, I don't know. It's tough just because that I feel like that inevitable letdown is going to happen. But then again, who are you going to take out of the lineup to put these guys that are inferior to the guys that are in your lineup? You know,
if everything's working right now, keep it as it is.
You'd like to think so.
I think everything. Well, shut down Toronto. I don't see why you can shut down Winnipeg.
Because Winnipeg has been off for a whole week after sweeping the Edmonton Oilers, and the Habs just finished a very hard-fought, emotional, and physically demanding series against the Leafs. So
exactly, and
that's why
you're riding that emotion all the way to the next round. You're going to play with all your heart.
I mean, I know you don't care because like you don't care if the Habs lose in game 1 to the Jets, but anyway, like I just want
good hockey from now on out. I don't care who wins. I just want to see
well, you're in for
a good series.
So, what are your predictions then? I know we have to be very, very careful with this right now. I was wrong too. Look, Sheldon was actually the closest one who was right here because he predicted Habs in 6 against the Leafs. I don't know if that was an emotional pick or a logical pick.
It was a gut feeling and like a brain pick. So
I mean, maybe your gut is a little bit closer to your heart than most people, but anyway, yeah, it could be. But so honestly, though, you know what? I'm still gonna pick against the Habs because I want the Habs to prove us wrong. I'm gonna go against the Habs here. I'm gonna say this will go 6 or 7 again. I'm gonna take Jets in 7. I said Leafs in 7 before. I'm gonna say Jets in 7.
I was gonna say Jets in 7 too.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go Jets in 7. I think Montreal's gonna take it all the way again.
I guess I'm alone here. Okay, I'm gonna go Habs in 6, and
yes,
I love it. Add to that, at least 2 of these games are going to overtime.
Absolutely, Sheldon, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Continue your point if you're not done.
It's could go to triple overtime. Now that's not going to be part of my prediction, but you know what?
Oh, I'm not done.
Be bold. Go ahead.
Do you guys? Okay, go ahead, Sheldon. Go ahead.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. I could see one game potentially going to triple overtime. Now, if it's the first game, okay, Habs win it because Carey Price is not going to let that emotion get to him. He's just going to be so calm. Oh, stop the puck. And he's just going to keep doing it. Kind of like, I think last year, Mike, you said this specifically after that game 1 between Tampa and Columbus, where, yeah, the players were exhausted, but Vasilevsky and Korpisalo were so efficient. Hellebuck and Price are going to have the same thing. So especially if game 1 goes to triple overtime or regular overtime, Carey Price and Connor Hellebuck are not going to be affected so much. They're going to do their job.
So the reason I wanted to bring that up is because just like Sheldon said, 3 of these 9 games between the Habs and Jets this year went to overtime, with the Jets having the upper hand in all 3 of them. But overtime this time is 5-on-5, not 3-on-3. But the Jets also beat the Edmonton Oilers 3 times out of 3 in games that went to overtime. I personally just I'm not one to say that I want to end overtime, that I want overtime to be shorter, but I'm not a fan of like these long, really dragged out overtime games. Like, I don't know, man. I have to get up in the morning. I have things to do the next day. I don't want to be up till 3 in the morning. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just lame like that, but I don't know. What do you guys think in terms of overtime?
I did see one thing that was a suggestion. I'm not saying they should actually do this, but it was interesting. It's the first overtime is 5-on-5, then 4-on-4, then 3-on-3, then 2-on-2, and then by the 5th one, it's a 1-on-1.
Break goalie versus goalie, right up.
You have to fight it out at center ice. Whoever wins the game.
You know what? I'm gonna quote Carey Price here. Different context.
Carey Price in that matchup, I definitely take Carey Price over. Carey Price's puck handling, no chance for Connor Hellebuyck.
This is specifically right. Different context is that 2020 code, but I'm going to apply it to here. Just chill out. You got lots of time.
Exactly.
And the Edmonton Oilers took the Jets to 3 overtimes already. And so that's the only thing is the Jets know what it's like to go into deep overtime like that. So maybe they'll be able to manage the game a little better because they've already been there. But you're right. I can see it going to multiple overtimes multiple times in this series.
I wouldn't be surprised either if it goes to like double or triple. But just a couple of other comments I want to get to here before we wrap things up. We got Dixon Automotive Group again. Perry in Connor Hellebuyck's head during the season. I mean, Corey Perry has come to life in terms of being a presence in front of the net of late. Can he continue to be a factor against Connor Hellebuyck?
Perry was so annoying against Toronto. Like, just every time he's on the ice, I'm like, oh, I hate this guy. He's
annoying against everyone. He's called the worst.
Especially in games 5, 6, and 7.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
So annoying to watch. So if he can get into Connor Hellebuyck's head in the net, give him a little tap every now and then, I think Hellebuyck's going to lose his composure.
Also, Ultimate Hab says, still very nervous with Ducharme's lineup mix here, which, as much as we've doubted so far, has paid off. It's paid off.
Yeah.
Whether it's Kotkaniemi and Caulfield sitting or Gustafsson coming in and Romanov staying out, it's paid off, Mike, somehow.
You said this, Mike, because this might actually be a curse in disguise. Is they're going to probably bring him back next year, and I don't know how that'll be in the realignment.
Hey, but look, honestly, the bottom line is if they bring back Ducharme, but if they don't lose Joel Bouchard, then sure, bring back Ducharme. And
Alex Burrow's been pretty good too for the coaching.
Yeah, staff. like they can, like, if Ducharme has a full off season, has a full training camp, and a regular 82 game season without stupid 4 games in 7 nights every week, maybe it'll be okay. And if also Mark Bergevin can add a piece or two, maybe, and as the young guys keep getting older and mature and become better players, but we still have a playoff series ahead, so we'll save the offseason talks for a couple of shows in the future. Just a couple of other comments here. Don't take that. I'm very content with what the Habs have done. Absolutely. Dick's Automotive Group says no one wants 3-on-3 in overtime. Well, maybe now with Caulfield. That's true. I think there was a prediction here. Ultimate Habs said Jets in 6 before we already mentioned that. But guys, that's all we got here for today. Thanks for joining. And Jacob, Bussey, and Josiah Bosch, you guys were, I can't say enough how you guys were like terrific sports as Leaf fans to be brave enough to come out here to vent about the Leafs and just talk about them. And even with how frustrated you were, and you still brought good energy, or as much energy as you could, and I really appreciate that. Of course, Sheldon, as usual, thank you for the being one of our many encyclopedias for stats here on the show. Really appreciate that.
Always a pleasure, Mike.
I do guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Montreal wins a cup in the next 3 years.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't even make that prediction.
Toronto Maple Leafs win the cup in the next 3 years also?
Like
no, and I believe, you know what, Joe, here's what's going to happen. Here's a hotter take. Montreal will knock out Toronto in one of those rounds, probably the second or even the third.
I'm not going to lie.
I'm smelling a little bit of emotion in those takes right now, not complete logic.
Hey, I'm just saying.
I'm saying it'd be cool.
Next 3 years, when the young guys keep getting better, and if Montreal can add another piece or two, like a big piece, like handling Toronto the way they did in games 5, 6, and 7, and it I guess that take will kind of be more fleshed out after the Winnipeg series, because if they go in and they get killed by Winnipeg, then I'd be like, okay, maybe it was just a really good series.
Just the Leafs.
If they just the Leafs. If they do well against Winnipeg, even if they lose and it goes to 7 games against a very good Winnipeg team, because I said the Winnipeg team is the only Canadian team that can compete with the American teams, at least this year. If they can bring the Jets to 7 or even 6, but every game is hard fought, I expect Montreal to be competitive for a cup within the next 3 years.
Yeah, properly develop everyone. Carey Price stays Carey Price, and there's definitely a chance at a cup there in the next few years.
But
Just
both the
wait for
Habs and the Leafs have to
Norlinder.
watch. Yeah, sure, a lot of good prospects in the system, but also a very tough division.
That's good, yeah.
If they go back to normal setup for both the Habs and the Leafs. But yeah, that's all we have here. And as usual, thank you to our audience. Thanks to our top commenters, Dixon Automotive Group and Ultimate Hab. Love the love from Ultimate Hab and Dixon Automotive Group. Yeah, I'll show that as well. They enjoyed the show. Really appreciate that. And Ultimate Hab, of course, hoping that we are right with our Habs predictions. But yeah, as usual, thank you so much for joining us here on Langer at the Mic, live both on YouTube and on Spotify. If you enjoy our commentary, give us a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Also, check out Jacob Bussey. If you're a Leaf fan, check out Bussey Banter. You have a nice little post-game show there from last night. If you want to relate to Leaf fans and to what I guess all Leaf fans went through last night, check out Bussey Banter. Yeah. And also everyone was on the show with everyone from CSM. But yeah, as usual, thank you so much for joining us here on Langer at the Mic, and looking forward to seeing you again next time at Langer at the Mic post-game show after the Habs game 1. Go Habs, go.
Pour toujours les Canadiens.